Saudi Arabia turns the desert into an oasis. How does it do it? Water or oil, which is more important? Big chunks of deserts turned into fertile crops. Stick around and we'll tell you about it. It's all part of the diversification of the economy of a country that can no longer depend on oil, but has also understood that problems in supply chains are compounded if there is no local production capacity. At the same time, the diversification of the economy has an effect on the population that after years of a rentier economy needs to acquire professional skills and insert itself into the real economy of the country and the world. This looks like a return to the origins. After all, before oil, the country's economic base was humble, restricted to pastoralism and trade and based on a combination of very old and cutting-edge technology. Getting right to the point, there is one aspect of the Saudi agricultural industry that mirrors the country's society in turning deserts into large areas of cultivation. It takes not only will, but also technology. One of the many technologies used in the desert is nanoclay. The tradition of nanoclay has its roots in the secret of the Nile to fertilize the lands of its basin. Now engineers use a mixture of clay, water and local soil to replicate that fertility of Arabian soil. The product is somewhat more complicated, as the BBC World relates, as the clay in the mixture is added in the form of nanoparticles. That is why the name of the product in development since the year 2005 is liquid nanoclay. The purpose of the product is to change the physical properties of the sand to make the soil firmer and thus retain water. With a firm, moist layer on the crops, they would have the necessary humus and also reduce the cost of cultivation in the desert, which consumes 3 times more water than in wetter places. Desert Control, founded by Norwegian scientist Christian Olesen, has developed a technology called liquid nanoclay, which combines clay nanoparticles and water to transform them into a new material. The product allows even arid desert soil to become suitable for planting. Desert sand has a low liquid retention capacity, which makes it practically impossible to cultivate. This process does not involve the use of any chemical agents. Low-quality sandy soils can be changed into high-yielding agricultural land in just 7 hours. Thus, the Saudis and Emiratis, with European help, are looking to their regions past in order to find solutions for the future. Tests have shown that liquid nanoclay saves water consumption by 50%, so that the green patches on the desert can be doubled. Of course, cultivation with nanoclay is still too expensive to spread significantly. The cost per hectare ranges from $1,800 to $9,500, and more of the product must be applied if the land is not kept under cultivation. In addition, the Arabian Peninsula is also experimenting with climate control greenhouses. These facilities are used in the United Arab Emirates to produce tomatoes in the middle of the sand. They are also investing in vertical agriculture. The latter is a system that allows crops to be layered together in greenhouses, with climate control, and illuminated with LED lamps, all irrigated by drip or sprinkler. Thanks to this cultivation technique that takes between 30 and 40 days in the field, here it is done in only 10 to 15 days and without using more water. In addition, a single vertical farm allows different crops to be grown. These farms save water as well as land. The attempt of the Emirates is outstanding because less than 1% of its territory is suitable for agriculture, not only because of the lack of rain, but also because in some parts the temperature can reach 50 degrees Celsius. In addition to its high temperatures, it is true that more than 70% of its territory is sand. And as we have already seen, sand is not a friend of agriculture. But they have been able to take advantage of it. The United Arab Emirates are no strangers to the idea of desertification, since sand represents approximately 75% of their land. To make better use of this natural resource, researchers have come to Dubai to find out how they can ensure that the hidden potential does not slip through their fingers. Sand is already the second most used natural resource after water. Modified to make everyday products, from glass and cosmetics to high-tech solar panels. Its most popular use is in construction. In 2019, the world spent around €1 billion to import silica and quartz, and the United Arab Emirates was the 4th largest importer. This is because their sand grains lack the density and roughness needed to form building materials. But back to the subject, why don't the Arabs forget about agriculture and continue to export black gold? That is because the world is leaving oil behind and leaving it behind very fast. It is paradoxical, the way in which the digging that looks for oil is replaced by the digging that looks for water. It is as if the future of the country is tied to the subsoil in one way or another. Before we continue, if you are liking the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive more of this content, and give it a like. Let's talk now about the Great Arab Thirst. Part of that thirst is due to intensive agriculture. For Saudi Arabia used to be a great wheat exporting country. And now there are the oases in the desert. A National Geographic map shows an incredible picture, the Saudi landscape filled with small green oases that give the desert an unimaginable hue. This presents the nation with a stark choice. Agriculture is necessary for a variety of reasons, but at the same time it puts pressure on water by increasing the need for the vital resource in the land of dunes. With all these difficulties, it is surprising that Saudi's entire culture has developed around technology that allows it to at least narrowly alleviate water shortages, from oases to desalination plants. The problem with its agricultural industry is that it puts more pressure on the scarce resource. Those green dots on the desert that the satellite images show, cost a lot, and it is not certain that they can be sustained. This forces El País to embark on an environmental initiative that goes beyond the agricultural development we have been telling you about. The Arab Green Utopia. Oil resources give Saudi Arabia the necessary financial muscle to expand its initiatives to its areas of influence. After all, the hegemonic vocation of the monarchy has always been there. In the case of the green economic transition, the first initiative is national and aims to curb desertification by planting 50 billion trees. The plan was announced in the middle of last year. It is a response to the fact that every year an area equivalent to half of Britain becomes desert. To understand its importance, we must know that water reserves, which are replenished with great difficulty, are not sufficient to sustain crops, because to that factor is added soil quality. Nanoclay will contribute, but the elements that trees bring to ecosystems are irreplaceable. In addition, there is the environmental concern of the world's second largest crude oil producer, whose air is one of the most polluted on the planet. It is the crown prince of the kingdom himself, Mohammed bin Salman, who is leading the initiative for himself, the kingdom, the region and the world, which must go much further and faster in the fight against climate change. The 50 billion tree initiative is complemented by the directive that 50% of the country's energy be green by the year 2030, and the increase of protected areas by 30%. Saudi Arabia knows that there is life beyond oil, but that it must prepare for it, especially if it is a country where more than 90% of what it consumes is imported, especially in food. But to that sustainable food production agenda is added a more ambitious environmental agenda that is obviously interconnected for some. Paradoxically, it is only an environmentalist utopia financed by the falling star of oil. Now, which resource is more important than water or oil? The most valuable natural resource for Saudi Arabia is water, not oil. As the country begins its transition to a post-hydrocarbon economy, the most sought-after geologists are those who find water, not crude oil. Why? Because with the subway water reserves that the engineers discover, the country is planting and harvesting grains, fruits and other vegetables in the desert. Do you think they will be able to sustain the oasis in the middle of the desert? If you liked the video, share it with your family and friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like it.